set it up, Mr. Mbugua. We just have one question for you that you can be able to tell us even as you start off. What gives Mr. Mbugua the passion to do what he does?
Hello, yes.
What gives you the passion to do what you do and the fire in your belly?
Yeah, thank you very much. I said in yesterday's session, for me it's a calling. And we have a mission is to simplify lives digitally. If you're equipped with whatever knowledge, then you use it to simplify lives digitally. My name is Paul Mbugua. I'm the founder, group CEO of Eclectics International. And I did discuss yesterday, among other things, will be demystifying, besides cloud, can institutions share that cost? Because we are an African continent that does not have extra resources for each one to go independently. Yeah, mission is to simplify lives digitally. I said we're in 28 countries, both in Africa and Solomon Islands. We process about 600 million transactions every month, 5,000 transactions per second throughput, the largest software house in Africa. Head as a group CEO, and we win every single award that relates to digital innovation. We had to make sure they were well certified and in order to comply, so including PCI DSS, the central banks, the partnerships we have, the ICTA certification, the data protection, those are necessary if you are a fintech or institution that needs to grow. Many others, including PSP licenses. Just a few of the customers that we have served over the years, again, starting with the largest bank, the central bank, going all the way to KCB and everybody else within the region. What is also critical in the green, it means we strive to offer financial inclusion affordably through alternative banking channels. So we find that we extend, besides the core banking that a bank should have by the time they are being established, we offer everything else. And yesterday, I covered that. We also offer to the SACCOs microfinance. We offer wallet solutions across different markets, and this was a good case study. 18 months, we were able to hit 1 million customers. If you go to Uganda, you find two things. You find MTN money, you find Airtel money, and you find FlexiPay. And yet, we are only 18 months. We are going to beat them, that's for sure. Cooperative Bank, 5.7 million accounts on MCOP Cash, 400 SACCOs onboarded, 35,000 loans applied, scored, disbursed every single day. It is not possible to do those kind of numbers. You can see here you're having about 100 million transactions processed within that time. It's also shown there. About 4 million account loans applied, and we do 86% of the bank lending through the platform. And the numbers keep growing and so on. What's also critical is we transform a bank from being a traditional bank to a digital bank, being able to hit 92% of the bank transactions being done outside the branch. That's a big significant for us. KCB, NMB Bank Tanzania, Post Bank Kenya, Access Bank, Awash Bank Ethiopia, with 7 languages, an app, a USSD having 7 languages because it's a desperate country, regionalized, and therefore each region is speaking their own. National Bank, we had a case study, Central Bank, as I said, if you're buying any bid bonds and so on, you'll be using our platforms, Youth Fund, DCB Tanzania, Credit Bank. The telecom, that's the Solomon Islands. We are doing the M-Pesa end-to-end with the biggest telco there, Faulu. Just to mention but a few. Oh yeah, there was my colleague speaking about my Shafiti. We are privileged to have been trusted by Jubilee in those unique solutions to supply. It's outside banking, but where it comes in challenges and solutions, then we're able to offer those. Sorry for the speed of presentation of the company profile, but I want to go to the main agenda. The main agenda is Africa has 1.4 billion on estimate population. 70% of those are unbanked We are talking about 70% mobile penetration on average. You're talking about literally about 50% have internet access. You're talking about over 20,000 financial institutions. Those are banks, microfinance, and circles across Africa who have only been able to achieve 250 to 300 million banked population. The main challenge, obviously, is that we still remain manual, and to be able to address that, then you have to go in addressing the software and hardware infrastructure-related cost. And to me, that is the opportunity that we saw some years back. Coming up is a proper understanding. Data is critical. In this case, we'll be saying what market is already banked, or what portion is already mobile banked, and who are completely unbanked. And you see the needs of each of those categories are different. For somebody who is banked, you want convenience. For somebody who is not banked or who is out of the telco, we'll be looking at access to banking. Because telco mobile money do not give lending. You know, they give you, as you know, short-term kind of lending or Kwaja has kind of, but it's not financial lending. You cannot get from Safaricom business kind of loans. So we knew, among other things, then obviously the people at the bottom need the entire bouquet of financial inclusion. Question is, we are not a licensed bank, but we offer solutions with banks to be able to achieve financial inclusion profitably. Data, again, is critical. We had to ask ourselves, yes, we need to roll out solutions. What is the future of banking? The future of banking is self-service as well as close proximity of cash in, cash out. There's no way we can say, particularly, I'm not talking about Kenya, I'm talking about Africa generally, cash is still king. And for that reason, we could not do and say that we only offer mobile banking without places to cash in, cash out, and so on. So agency banking, which gives you closer branch reach, plus mobile banking, which is self-service, obviously together with internet banking, are the only two channels that are futuristic. You go down there, branch are reducing transactions, other banks are closing branches, ATMs have reduced transactions, they're actually still, and they are assets that are not making any money for the institutions. Again, we asked ourselves, what is this? Banking now remains something you do other than somewhere you go. And that is a fact. And those that will remain infrastructural based, setting up branches and so on, will be swallowed by all the fintechs that we are seeing, and they'll be eaten bite-sized. The truth is there are now so many fintechs and so many institutions coming in, and you think you have a big balance sheet. As a bank, your time is numbered. And we also ask ourselves, what does it take within those same areas? What is the cost of the digital solution we're offering? So we focused on the last three, knowing that, again, traditional bank branches were there. We know what the cost is. An ATM, we know what the cost is. And we now focused on these three to achieve that same goal. That, yes, we accept that agents will still be available. And I'll be covering why an agent you cannot achieve financial inclusion without an agent. And the second point is obviously internet banking, because you have diaspora, as people are smart, SMEs, corporate will be relying on that. And lastly, and biggest, is being able to achieve over 60% of your transaction on mobile. And you can see the cost, who you reach, and the purpose, and the region. That data collection is very critical. And then we ask ourselves, now we want to focus on the bottom of the pyramid, yes. Second is, who are they? We realize they're the difficult to bank. And no other banks in their own traditional structures will not be able to hack. These are people that live in the most remote places, meaning infrastructure-wise, it has to be ready. These are people who are illiterate or literacy levels are low. These are people that are in formal jobs, meaning the monthly salaries and so on is not going to come. So lack of financial product and knowledge. Then most have low income, as we just mentioned, or have no assets at all. Then you have cultural, region, etc. that beliefs that do not necessarily justify or tell them or persuade them to go banking. They have no credit history. Now, we are talking about the difficult to bank that are bottom of the pyramid. You need to think outside the box to say, how do we address this? We tended to go around the region and ask ourselves, how have they attempted before? We know Traditionally, you find a van full of cash with an ATM inbuilt, would drive into a market and people do banking and then come back. And it will be there every Tuesday if it's a market day. We know the results of that is that people that do not have the culture, there was issues of fraud and thuggery on those vehicles being hijacked and so on. But more so, you're not going to collect the whole village on the market day and tell them Q2. So financial literacy was also a need. And that vehicle on that day will not be able to achieve that. We realized that we have been supporting the old model, and this is in Tanzania, where 7 banks in these kiosk logos are using our system. They approached us independently. We supplied a solution independently, but when they have to target the customer, then they find the customer is going there to buy milk or a kiosk. So inside there, you find there are multiple devices. We also knew, possibly you can tell which country this is. Yeah? This is Tanzania, and this is our home here. Again, same story. Same story. Multiple devices, duplicate technologies, cannot share, etc. Same thing, you go into this, you find this kind of layout. And people go to the most common places. If you go to a supermarket, that is very common centrally in certain places. All banks would want to go and partner, and obviously the merchant will sign everybody. So we have all these challenges, all these problems. We need to get a solution. We luckily partnered with Uganda Bankers Association after a lot of convincing that doesn't make sense to all of us pursue financial inclusion and still want to run independently. So we ask ourselves again, with all those problems, what will the bank do? Because they need to provide customer centricity services, consolidation. You now have a bank that has been in urban and therefore has 20 customers, maybe 20,000 or 200,000 customers. You go financial inclusion, you are likely to triple or even go quadruple those numbers. Then there is the regulation. He doesn't care. How do you achieve that? How do you make sure that you're within compliance? It was definitely a nightmare. And then you have efficiency. You have now tripled, quadrupled your customer base. How are you going to ensure that you don't have to multiply the number of back office people to be 4 or 5 times, increasing your cost inefficiencies and so on? So we went back to the drawing board. We understood ideation thinking and said we are going to think about the pains and constraints of these customers. We looked at the various 3 pillars. We agreed the pains and constraints have to be very clear, that onboarding is painful, customers, literacy, and all that. We then asked ourselves, who are the stakeholders that we need to bring on board to make this happen? And lastly, we have to put in the necessary technology. It's not one size fits all. So we have to bring different technologies to be able to address different needs. But we also agreed one thing, that we are going to focus on efficiency, growth, and customer centricity. In all those, the key objective of business sale is you're going to make sure you are efficient despite growth, you're going to go triple, as I said, and lastly, you're going to engage your customer personally and customized according to their unique needs. Then we agreed, we do not have a solution that is wholesome. We are going to do this agile. And we also agreed the solution should be cloud ready because we are not going to have set up data centers across the multi countries. And ultimately came up with a very clear architecture that says we are going to make the customers, the agents, and all the stakeholders be digital. And we are going to make sure that on the right-hand side, the core banking system, transactional real-time, the call center complaints and queries, and all that party integrations with that billers and governments and CRBs are real-time. And then below, we set up the individual servers. A server for USSD, a server for mobile app, wallet for those that do not have core banking accounts, agency, merchants, etc. Signed the contract on 2018 with the entire association. The country has 10% out of the 42 million population. a key challenge is they will not catch up in Kenya unless they look at things differently. And to put different institutions that have different views, that have different agendas, that have different backgrounds into one boardroom to convince them, it has to be convincing. Today, we talk about 26 banks live and 7 microfinance, 35,000 agents on the same platform, 25 million transactions processed. But the critical point was clear. We are going to increase the number from 10%, maybe 20, 30% of onboarding. So the solution has to have that component. Second is we are going to ensure that banking is now affordable. Then we have to bring banking close to the people. That's why we have, compared to 26 banks plus 7 microfinance, now we are talking about 35 pay points, 35 branches, 35,000 branches that customers can go to. Obviously, we look at cashless by rolling out wallets. And lastly is financial literacy as part of the problems that we needed to solve in this solution. We also realized we are talking to different banks that have different background, different core banking system, everything was different between one bank and another. We were not to sit with one bank and say the system has been tested, so you use it because Bank X have tested. The CISOs will tell you, or the quality assurance will tell you, they do not, they have to do it themselves. And each one of these banks is having different tariffs, different markets, different segments. Look at DTB, look at Citibank, compare that with DFCU, compare with Centenary. It is like Equity and KCB and the likes, who focus on the entire pyramid versus the Citibank and the Stanbic and, that focus on our SMEs and corporates and so on. They have to use the same platform, be able to customize the system to their level. So what are the critical challenges? We needed to hit each core banking system on real time. We needed to make sure that we are hitting card systems, card switches real time. We needed to adopt 24 different banking tariffs. There's no one bank tariff is equal to the other because say the target segments and so on. And they also compete in that. Then we needed to integrate about 100 third-party systems, already multiplied 25, 26 plus banks plus core banking system, that's a core. Then there is the card management systems. Then you're talking about the BLAS government, CRBs, IPRS, and so on. They were hitting 100 third-party integrations. Concurrent implementation. There was no order of which bank has to start followed by the other. It was anybody that is ready, meaning we have to have a pool of soldiers knowing what they have to implement, consequentially, and in parallel. Well, that meant, again, one bank would be rolling out products, another one stops, another one is dependent on the group approvals, and so on and so on. Being able to implement those activities was not easy. Adopting multi-tenancy, multi-agency, one bank has 2 levels. They have super agent, and that is it. Others have master agent, that is it. Others have master agent, super agent, normal agents, and tills to that extent on the same platform. Comprehensive security, as I said, no single bank dependent on another bank to say, now we have integrated, we want to go live. And then they went live. They did their own quality assurance, they did their own UATs, they did their own info security tests, etc. And others even did internal tests and involved an external test. That, you're still doing that where other banks are live, other banks are being added, other banks are midway. Again, it is make sure you can change the engine when the flight is still on flight. Reporting comprehensively, each bank had their own report needs, 100% compliance, 10 different POS terminals. Good, we are meeting an institution that is already established. You hear Ingenico is Equity at group level. So we are not changing our terminals. Your software has to run on that. You go to Verifone on Stanbic, then you go to Castor on Diamond Trust, and so on and so on. We had to make sure the system can be able to run on 10 different POS terminals. State-of-the-art data center, because obviously this is a country problem, and therefore they're not going to host that data in Kenya. They say that the system has to be in the country. Lastly, is 24/7 and uptime and so on. Technology had to be deployed different architectures. This is the local shared platform where you have the center, the shared agency surrounded by the fraud guard, you have the channels on the left, and you have individual banks. Individual banks, you're hitting the core banking together with with the card management system. And you have redundancy, settlement, etc. Then you have the universal. You get the likes of Equity, KCB that are already in this region with the agency banking. They are not necessarily going to roll out a new system. They want to connect directly to the Kenya platform, and they already have established that besides having the local. Then there are those that came to us directly and said, hey, this process is good, but can we have also ours? So we also rolled out on-premise solution. Ultimately, the whole architecture was huge, just to pass by. The login is one platform. It's based on your credentials. We use OTP, and once you're in, you can be able to see only your profile, only your data, only your agents, only your customers, only your everything is about you, and what you do does not affect the other institution, but ultimately, we can do as regulation reporting status. Same case with Standard Chartered. I mean, all those banks that I've mentioned. We were capturing those that wanted to go through traditional POS terminals and as well as mobile devices. Mobile is a POS, that's mobile Android, as well as this other one. And charges can be one-off, can be a range of fees like what we see in the telcos here, as well as a percentage. Again, flexibility was required right from the beginning. Dashboards, visibility of agents wherever they are, just to mention but a few. Reports are comprehensive, etc. Those super agents, the Shell, the supermarkets that have branches, we give them a super agent model that they're able to roll out the agency on behalf of the bank and not the bank itself running the headache. So we have that already. On the front end, you can see, you can be able to select which bank you want to deposit to. Again, like this, without necessarily having any challenge. So an agent comes in, a customer comes, he does not need to be asked questions. The transactions will go through perfectly. We need a proof of transaction, and that is signing on that. Account opening and so on. But what is also critical, another 2 minutes, sir, is you cannot have a centralized technology and then every bank is going independently in marketing. Again, these are serious coordination. Guys have said, yes, my costs are going to be duplicated if we, so can we have a common agenda? So we put in a common agenda on what is this image that's going to be presented outside there. And you can see them there. Then we went ahead, including motorbikes. All of you know Uganda is the largest in terms of motorbike, about 5 million motorbikes. It was a big campaign channel. It went ahead. You're not training a bank, you're training a region. You have gone to this, let me use this example, you're going to coastal region, and all banks and agents are putting together in training. Same message, same practice, same product, everything. Again, eliminating the need of duplication, cost, and time, and so on. Yes, again, campaigns were centralized. You are holding a campaign somewhere, road shows, every bank puts in their stand. And they come in, the customers are being shared, they're being told. And in that, you're able to open many bank accounts. But also critical is, what does the customer see at the end of the day? There's no clutter. You see one logo, and you go in, regardless. Like now you find the logo is between, it's always two. You find there is Stanbic logo, and on the other side is the shared platform. Every bank would promote by putting their logo and the shared platform. And that does not confuse the customer. The picture on the left-hand side, there are small logos there. It is all the banks that a customer can be able to bank with, and so on. Ultimately, and lastly, we say technology can address everything, but cannot address your market confidentiality and brand identity. But leave the technology to address your customer retention, customer onboarding, convenience, convergence, and cost. All that can be managed through the platform. The only thing you need to manage is that any projects have to go through the project implementation methodology, and that's need analysis, actual implementation, and go live and post live. On average, these are tried and tested products. We range between 2 to 3 months regardless, and that's what was happening in that case study. I'd like to leave with that. I think I missed out by a minute. Thank you very much.